Happy December. I am Jasmine and I am here to give you feedback this month. I am super excited to get started, so let's just get started. Lindsay, we will start with you, sleepy student. I was reading through and I saw Mike's latest video critique and I see your updates. So let's get started. For you, I'm going to go into Photoshop since it's a still. I already pulled in. This is your before and this is your after. I always like to do this just to when I light, I just want to see progress. But for me, since I'm coming in fresh, I want to see where you were, what updates you did, and I can see you did a lot, right? You took Mike's feedback, especially with the contrast. I definitely see that you brought that in. The light from the sun, from the sky is definitely brighter, and I see the direction is more in line, as Mike was saying, and the colors themselves, I feel like you definitely went more warm. It's like kind of this greenish light, which, aligns a lot with the reference that you have. I think initially when I looked at it, I was like, ooh, it feels really green. But then when I pull this up, this is quite greenish. So same here, this one maybe not so much. So this is where I think, depending as you know, reference isn't like one to one a lot of times. It's like pulling different things. And as you did like indirect lighting here, right? Sunlight, you have the volume reference as well. So really good job there. So let's get into the shot as it is. One thing I'll say is, while I do like the contrast that you have right now that you brought in, there's something nice and soft about your original, I have to say, when I pulled up your original. It's almost like what's interesting when I look at this is like, I like I think it still should go dark and contrasty, but like look wise, like I feel like this area here can go deeper, like darker, so it gets pushed back, especially like here, right in the cracks. But there's some softness that it's like almost I think it's gone too far for the contrast. So let's say I'm just gonna pull some levels here, just out of curiosity, right? Like you see how I'm just like pulling back on that brightness to get a little bit of that softness back there. And while you get the contrast, it doesn't feel as harsh. And I guess it depends on the look you're going for, but to me, it's like you want a little bit more subtlety in that. So, like, just that little bit gives it, you still have the depth and the contrast that you achieved, but then it's not feeling as forced. So that I would kind of play with that level. And then it's in the details. The one thing I noticed that I love about these references here is like, and you mention it here, right? Indirect lighting. Like here, the detail, like the fact that I see that bounce light coming up and lighting up this desk here is just really nice. Same thing see here in the podium, right? So what I'd love to see here, same like details here. Like it would be great with all this light here. Imagine it is, let me grab some kind of um, marking tool. So imagine like this light's coming in here and then bounces back up there. So you get some nice kind of soft indirect lighting here, right? Like wherever the sunlight is, so you get here on this one, and you're actually like this is beautiful. You're getting it right there, right? I just covered it up. But this is great. Like this is what I kind of want to see here. And then maybe even like subtly a little bit over here. This over here you can let go into dark. And then even here, like I will say this foreground table goes really dark here. And it threw me off just because there's no shaping there. So I think there's one or two things you can do with this one. I was actually thinking, depending, you can get rid of it if you don't really need it, and then you can get kind of more of a clean line here. Or you can keep it as an interesting element, but you would need to add a little bit of, you can do like a fill speck there, like just a subtle fill, or even like a rim you could try here, but something like it's just going to pure black. And the contrast is extreme when I saw it. So that's something to look at. But overall, like I think it's looking really good. Like just that's the subtle thing I did. That's it before. Um, One thing that I wanted to play with, and I was playing with it with your shot, is a lot of times um, now when I'm like playing with what a shot could look like, and I want to do like some fast iterations on it before, really investing on the lighting part of it, is like, oh, what would happen if, we increase the contrast? You can do that actually just within a comp, right? But you can also do that nowadays. I've been playing with like prompting it, taking your image in and basically having a conversation to see what kind of looks you can get from it. And then it can give you fast kind of concept to like look at. And so like for me, I brought in your image into Nano Banana actually, and then I was just like kind of playing with like, okay, what if we go like super cool? This is my like I just kind of like, what if we go super cool on this, even cooler than it is now? You can even input like some references to kind of say like your styles and stuff, and say like, how would that translate here, right? And you don't have to take this for the final image, but you're basically like ideating on what possible looks you can go for in a faster way than like tweaking and laying. So then like once you like you're like, that is really interesting. Or like, no, that's not, and then you move on. And then another one I tried was like, oh, what happens if we go super contrast, right? And that the sun's just like streaming in and everything else goes to dark. I'm like, that's a pretty cool look, right? So I was able to just like like because I was just curious, and it's like you're essentially the art director. It's like, what do we think of this? Or like, and then this is where I was just playing with like a slightly darker background. It's not super dramatic, but I mean this Sunstrong one that I created was like that's very appealing to me. And this is all depends on like where you want to go with your look, but this is a fun way to just play and ideate really quickly. And you're like, huh, that's cool. Well, that's not. So I just wanted to also give you that kind of like little tidbit. This is my new thing for this month to show and experiment with everyone. Like, how can I use things like these new tools with Gen AI or anything like that to help me ideate my ideas? And then like for example, let's say I did want to go this route. I was like, oh, well, there's my new reference style frame to then now mimic and like help drive my lighting. So you can like use, so I could use this, let's say if I wanted to go this direction. Oh, now instead of like, yes, I have these, but then I can also implement like a one-to-one and be like, oh, I see how this could go. And then you start, and then you light it in real 3D, and then you can animate it and do whatnot. But this is where these tools can possibly help you there. So that's my little tidbit on that as well. So with that, take a look at the notes that I said. Um, Also, I kind of encourage you to try out these prompts yourself. Basically, all you need to do if you are interested, you could bring it into even like ChatGPT. I don't know, some models are better than others. Nano Banana is really good at like adhering, so essentially you can like input your frame into Nano Banana, let's say, and then just do a prompt like keep um keep framing in character and positioning exactly the same, only change lighting, and then you give it prompts specifically for lighting or the look of it, like make it, more contrast, like the same way you'd say normal words, just like type it out. And or you can actually add reference images as well sometimes, depending on what you're using. And again, you don't use it for your final, but you can use it to guide you and make you kind of like pick a direction faster too and see things. It's like a paint over. So that is my thought there. I hope that helps. And now let's move on to, I believe we have some animated works from Miriam. I was looking at this, and first of all, I love how, this is from June. I love how like the progress, and definitely huge progress on this one, I have to say, as I was scrolling through it. It's one of my favorite shots. So I see you've had some excellent feedback from multiple providers. And looking at your latest, let's take a look. So you've darkened the room behind the door, lower the saturation on the robot, reduce the saturation, and replace the HDRI. Okay, cool. So let's take a look. Honestly, I really like it. I feel like, I looked at this before we started um this feedback before I hit record, and I don't have that much to say on it. I have to say, I'm liking it. I feel like, there are a couple of things I can say. We can always find something. I do think this is getting a little bit hot over here on the floor and on this rug. I think we could dim that down a bit. Um, yeah, I think one thing, just looking at this, let me play it again. It's interesting he covers that light on the floor as he walks by. I mean, obviously that's what happens if that's like the light positioning and the shadows happening that way. It's not faked. Just making note of it. I think, overall, I don't have much to say. I'm liking it. I think, yeah, I just think this floor light is too strong, especially if it was this strong on the floor, it would be completely blowing him out. So I would say let's reduce that hotness down there. Um, yeah, I'm liking this. Good job. Awesome. So as we say, ship with the fix. Just like reduce that hotspot and then we're good to go. Okay, and Andrea, I didn't see that you had an update. And then I believe there is something here. Let's take a look. Okay. Oops. So I believe the note from Mike was to add light back here as well, right? As some warmth, and I've seen you done that. Let's keep on going. Okay. Sorry. As you know, we like look at it several times. We just loop it back and forth. Um, I'm liking it. So good job on adding that, that warmth back there. I think this spot could be less, more of a like softer fall off, so you don't see such like a clear circle uh back there. So that's my call out there. The one other call out I have to say that I see, and I don't know why this is streaming like this, is right here. Um, he feels really blown out, like in this spot, that spot, this spot. So I understand that the light's coming from the screen and it should be quite bright on him, but I would bring this down. And unfortunately, I know I saw you said you do things in comp, and I love doing things in comp as well. Sometimes depending on what this is rendered in, if it's raw, like you can't bring down hotspots like this as well because it will look clamped essentially if there's no information there. So take a look at that. I would try like bring these hotspots down, and then other than that, I think we are good to go. So really well done, and I believe that is it. If I missed anyone, apologies. Definitely ping me. I thought I went through everything that Mike hadn't gone through, but I could have missed something. So with that, I will be back on Friday. And until then, happy lighting.